Hey out there, legal warriors. In this video, I'm going to cover the big 8. The big 8 most frequently asked questions that I've gotten in 30 years of doing criminal work here in Washington State. So if you're interested in the criminal law, stay tuned. A lot of efforts went into the answers to these questions. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Washington State, and I have a law firm that's been defending people charged with crimes for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this video useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get the help they need. Now I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to cover the 8 most frequently asked questions that I've gotten as a person in the criminal law for 30 years. Right? Now, I just said I've been a defense attorney for more than 20 years. That's true. But I was a prosecutor for many, many years before that. And so it totals up to 30 years of dealing with the criminal law. Now, the answers to these most frequently asked questions, and the questions aren't in any particular order, although I thought about them in a certain order. I'm just going to cover them here 1 to 8. So jumping right into it. Question number 1. The question that I probably get more than any other question is, will I go to jail? Well, let's face it, criminal laws, what makes them criminal for the most part is they carry potential jail time. And there are some types of laws that if they're broken, they require jail time. And let's cover non-felonies, like a DUI if you're convicted. There's a mandatory minimum jail time if you're convicted of DUI, although in some cases it could be converted to home detention. If you're convicted of driving while license suspended in the first degree, there's some mandatory minimum jail time involved in those type of cases. A lot's 10 days, 90 days, 180 days, but those are rare situations where the law requires jail if you're convicted. So for most non-felony cases, if you have a reasonably okay record and you do what your attorney tells you to, your attorney's going to be pretty darn good at trying to get your case in a position where you don't do any jail time. And not everybody wants you to do jail time, right? It costs money for the court to put you in jail. There's a budget involved. The prosecutor knows you're going to fight even harder if they're trying to put you in jail. So for non-felonies, don't make some assumption you're going to go to jail. If you follow the instructions and you don't have a terrible record, there's a very good chance you won't. Now on felony cases, depending on the type of felony, they're so much more serious, they're more likely to involve jail time if you're convicted. You'd be surprised how oftentimes we don't have someone go to jail charged with a felony, but felony cases create a whole different situation. But what you never want to do is give up, because with the right type of help in the right type of situation, hopefully we're able to avoid jail in the great huge majority of cases. So that's number 1. I think number 2 for frequently asked questions. 2, will I lose my job? Right? We get that question a lot. Lance, I'm going to lose my job. What's going to happen to me? I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to get evicted. I'm going to be homeless. Those type of things. And those are rational concerns. But what I often see in doing this forever is, if again we do things right, you're not going to lose your job. Right? There are special circumstances, like let's say you work in home health care and there's a licensure requirement. Well, certain types of convictions might cost you your job, so let's make sure you're not convicted then, right? Let's make sure the prosecutor knows the conviction means your job if you're in that special situation. Or if you're a long-haul truck driver, you might lose your job if your commercial driver's license gets invalidated for a DUI, right? Or if you get a large jail sentence where you simply can't go to work, you could lose your job. But remember, those sound like sort of exceptions to the rule, right? Why is it you might not lose your job, or hopefully you won't? It's because probably your job won't even know about it, right? No one in the system that I've seen is ever calling up someone's job and say, oh, by the way, did you know Mr. Smith got arrested for assault, so I don't think you should employ him at this accounting company anymore. No, that's just not how it works, okay? And along the line, so you're probably not going to end up in the paper, right? Unless you have a very salacious, unusual situation, you're probably not going to be in the newspaper where your employer is going to figure it out. And even if your employer does know about it, it's just as likely, if not more likely, they're going to want to keep you because you're doing a good job, right? It's hard to replace people, right? You probably have a relationship with your employer. And so, you're going to want to talk to your attorney. And while your attorney may not know the exact answer, they probably have a lot of experience in trying to figure out what's likely to happen and what you should do. So hopefully, my best guess is you're not going to lose your job. 3, another frequently asked question we get is, what is the outcome of my case going to be? What's going to happen? And as you might guess, that's a pretty annoying question to get, because when you're first talking to us, right, we only know your side of things. We don't know what's in the police report, right? We may have a good guess what's in the report. We may be able to give you a good guess of what the outcome is going to be from having a lot of experience and a lot of skill, but we probably don't know for sure what the outcome is. And so in deciding what the outcome might be, we can point you to certain factors that can be considered. And maybe I should just go into how it really works, right? We have a lot of videos on how it really works, but I'll just jump into it. How can you improve the outcome? Maybe would be what you'd want to think about instead. Well, you improve the outcome by following your lawyer's instructions and realizing that things take time. Early on in a criminal case is when the prosecutor and the court are the most upset. They're the most worried. It's the first time they've seen this report with this terrible stuff that you supposedly did, right? The DUI, the assault, whatever, the theft. And that's when they're most upset. When they see the report a few more times and you've stayed out of trouble, they're less mad, right? Oh yeah, that case. And as time passes, you also become a better risk, right? You're not out of control. This was a one-time thing. Then the other thing that can happen, or that you need to do to improve your chances, in my opinion, if you're working with my firm, is we'll typically want you to do something. We want you to do something so the prosecutor can feel part of the solution, right? The prosecutor's job is not to let you go. The prosecutor's job is to respond to the case in some way. That prosecutors went through a lot of school and a lot of effort to get to a position that's meaningful to them, right? To protect the public through law. Okay, and that's often how they think about it. But they've got a hard job, right? I did it myself for 7 years. And so, oftentimes a prosecutor can be impressed if you've done some classes, anger management, alcohol classes, or something, to see that you're responding to the case in some way that makes you a better risk and lets them feel like they've responded. So if the case is old enough and you've done enough, the prosecutor's then more willing to hear your side of the story about what happened, right? And you put that all together, that's what gives us a better chance for a better outcome. So number 4, question we get a lot is, how much is it going to cost, right? And that's a hard one to answer. Earlier on in a lawyer's career, they might charge less, right? Because they aren't as good, or they don't know how good they are, or they just need business, so they charge less. Later on, as the firm gets bigger, they might charge more because they're in higher demand, right? It makes sense. A speaker who's in higher demand because of their skills or their knowledge might charge more than someone who's in lesser demand because maybe they're not quite as skilled or knowledgeable yet. So more complicated cases cost more money. More distant cases from a lawyer might cost more money. It depends. There's a lot of Zoom nowadays. And what I more want you to think about is there are actually some things you could do to improve your chances of getting a lower price quote, still with a really great attorney. The good attorneys that you're going to be reaching out to, the highly reviewed ones, probably have some choice, right, about who they work with. And so if you present as a more cooperative and a more reasonable potential client who isn't telling them how to do their job and who has got to follow instructions and is going to listen, and only have the questions answered maybe 2 or 3 times the same question, not 10 or 12, right? Then you're more likely to get a lower rate. Here's a little tip I just came up with the other day when I was talking to someone on the phone who was looking for a lawyer not in our practice area. So I said, well, here's a good thing to tell the person on the phone. You might want to ask the person that you're interviewing to see if they can help you, how you can help them. Hey, Mr. Potential or Ms. Potential Lawyer, how can I be an A client for you? I want to be the best client you've ever had, okay? And man, if you ask how you can help your potential attorney help you, how you can help them have a lower stress relationship with you, mind blown, right? If you can ask that question of your lawyer, how can I be an A client for you, and then try to fulfill that, I guarantee you that lawyer's going to want to work with you more. They're going to probably quote you a little bit lower rate. They're going to say, you're the dream client that I want. I don't want the client who is so lost in their own stuff or so difficult. I'm going to choose you over them. And certainly I'm going to probably charge you less than someone who's more difficult. So, how much money varies, but hopefully, your lawyer will take a portion of the money down and a portion over time. Hopefully they don't charge you interest, stuff like that. But you can improve your chances of getting a better rate quote if you seem like you're going to be a better client. Number 5, will it be on my record? What a pet peeve that can be. It's not about the client's question, it's about the word record, right? Will it be on my record, or will I have a record? Will it be a record of this? Well, a record is sort of a recording of events. So there's records of what happened, police reports, stuff like that, and then it's your official criminal history record. So the best question is, will I have a conviction record? So if you don't get convicted, the answer is no, you won't have a conviction record. If you do get convicted, yes, you'll have a conviction record. Will there be a record of what happened? Well, your official criminal history in Washington State is maintained by the Washington State Patrol, and they basically go off of fingerprints or convictions. So if you have a criminal charge but you've not been fingerprinted and you're not convicted, there's probably nothing on your official criminal history yet. If you've been arrested but you're not convicted, then there's an arrest on your record but no conviction data yet. Well, but Lance, I never got arrested and you did a great job. I never got convicted, but when I do a background check, it's still there. Well, private companies collect data, right? Backgroundcheck.com, identity.com, I might have just made those up, but you get the idea. Private companies collect data from courts to sell, and they're never going to delete their intellectual property. So if you get in their private data and someone purchases access to that data, well, they're probably going to see that you were in court, okay? That doesn't mean it's on your official record, but think about it, it's not going to be invisible, but it's probably not going to crush me either, okay? It's people care way less about our own lives than you think people care about their own lives. So a couple other quick things to answer, even though we have videos on this type of stuff already. If you get arrested and you're not convicted, you may be able to delete non-conviction data. It's called deleting non-conviction data. It's not expunging, it's not sealing, it's deleting non-conviction data. There's a form to send into the State Patrol after a certain period of time to delete the data, usually 3 years after an arrest if you were never charged, and 2 years after dismissal if you were charged and the case got dismissed. There's some exceptions, so you can delete non-conviction data, and if you get convicted, you may be able to vacate conviction data through a statute as well. The state doesn't have expunge, as the law think about it as vacate conviction data or delete non-conviction data, two separate things. People talk about sealing. Sealing is a whole nother civil process. I don't like sealing because it doesn't make it invisible. The record will say sealed, and then you just pique curiosity, right? What was so bad that it was sealed, right? So, so there's different types of attorneys who focus on that type of work. We do a little bit of it, but for the most part, think about it won't be invisible, but you're trying to avoid conviction data, right? Number 6. The 6th most frequent question I probably get in this list at least is, why don't they care about what happened, right? Why don't they care about what happened? And the they usually means the prosecutor or the police or the judge. And the reason why they don't care about what happened is the system isn't set up for them to care about what's really true. I mean, I covered this a little bit earlier. The judge and the prosecutor, they're not truth finders, right? If you want a truth finder, you go to jury trial and they're still not finding the truth. They're just determining whether or not the state has met its burden, okay? And usually they're barely even doing that, if you ask me, in my opinion. So why people don't actually care what happened, why they're not trying to find the truth, and why they're not out there, why aren't they interviewing these other witnesses? I get that all the time. Well, why isn't the prosecutor going out and interviewing a witness who might make it harder for them to convict you? Well, because that's not their job, right? Their job is supposedly to do justice, but they're not actually have the bandwidth or the command to go out and be the grand poobah of the truth, right? They're presenting their case as given them to by the police. Hopefully they'll listen to things if we do the 1, 2, 3 approach, let a little time pass, do some stuff, and then they'll listen to something we have to say. But why the system doesn't care about what really happened is because there's no incentive for them to do so. The judge is sort of refereeing the thing, issuing fair sentences, hopefully, and protecting the public. The prosecutor is advancing their theory of the case as recorded by their witnesses and their police, and the defense is advancing their theory of the case. If you even try to start telling the truth in court, the court will shut you down, right? Hey, anything you say can be used against you. Don't say anything. Your attorney will tackle you to keep you from talking. You need to. Who cares about what happened is is your attorney, right? A good attorney is going to listen to what happened and try to use what actually happened in a way to get the system to care about it and listen to it, but it isn't set up, and so many clients are disappointed when they see how it really works, right? It's sort of this just big group of people that are self-interested, trying to get through their day and do their job as they see best, but their job isn't like find the truth. Okay, so that's why people don't really care what happened, at least from the client's perspective. I care, we'll get people to care, but that's not how it's set up. Okay, number 7 that we get all the time is how long will it take, right? How long will my case take to be resolved? I want this over, Lance. Well, of course, the answer is it depends. I'm going to go through two general types of situations and then a couple different types of cases. So, uncharged cases. An uncharged case means you've been arrested but not charged yet or investigated, and there's lots of reasons why that happens. But if it's an uncharged case, it depends on the statute of limitations. You know, gross misdemeanors, they have 2 years to charge. Most felonies are 3 years. Sex felonies are forever. Some more violent felonies might be 7 years. There's different periods of time. But for the most part, an uncharged non-felony case might take 6 months to a year to charge. For the most part, a felony could take a year or longer to charge, depending on the county. There's just an article about how behind Snohomish County is. King County moves a lot quicker, but that's in 2022. If you're watching this in 2025, who knows? So uncharged cases take a while to charge, and then it takes a while to resolve once they're a charged case. Once a case is charged, so if you're in a charged case situation, what I generally tell people is non-felonies, which means misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors. The quick version is 3 to 6 months. The long version is 6 to 12, okay? And for felony charges, I usually think a year or more to resolve a felony case. Now, certain types of cases will move more quickly. You're going to want to talk to your attorney, but it's not a short thing. It's not like a traffic ticket where you go to court in 3 months and it's done in one court date. There's multiple court dates, and there's lots of reason there are multiple court dates, and it's going to take a while. So you want to do your best to learn to cope with it, because it probably won't be over anytime soon. But if you have a reason it needs to move more quickly, make sure your attorney knows. Like maybe you're an H-1B visa person, right? A work visa, and comes up for renewal. Well, if there's a reason that the case needs to move quicker besides I just want it to, well, sometimes your attorney can use that to get the prosecutor to pay more attention more quickly, in a way that won't harm your case, right? So it's important to, you want to go after the military, you're about ready to get in. There's lots of reasons why there's things might need to move more quickly, so make sure your attorney knows about it. Then finally, number 8, the question we often get is, can you help me, or how can you help me? And here's how I think about that question. If someone's talking to our law firm, they're probably talking to highly rated attorneys, right? People that have been around a while and have been successful. That's why they're still around. And so I like to think and be humble enough to think that most highly rated attorneys are going to get a pretty similar result in the case, right? If they're good and they have the capacity and they have the staff, then they're going to be able to use your cooperative help to have a good result in your case. And so the question I like to think about is, how can the attorney help you get through this, right? From our point of view, we want to make sure that you end up better than we met you. So what I think you want to think about when you're talking to attorneys is, how can you help me feel better throughout this case, right? How often are you going to talk to me? How patient are you going to be with me? How easy are you going to make it for me to do things A, B, C? Are you going to spell it out for me or not? Do you have emotional intelligence to help me deprogram some of this stuff going on in my head? And if your team has been through a lot of therapy, if they've had some life experience, then maybe they have some understanding of how they can help you feel good, or as good as you can throughout the case, so you can get some sleep while this case goes on for 3 months, 6 months, or a year, right? So how can you help me? Well, the question is, well, we're going to do our best to get the result you need, but more importantly, what we're going to want to try to do is make you feel as good as we possibly can along the way, and make sure you understand there's nothing wrong with you because you're charged with the crime, that to think positive and to do the things we need to do together to make sure you're treated fairly and get the result that you need. So I hope you found this useful. If so, please like and please subscribe. More people get the help you need, they need. And more importantly, if you have a problem, if you have a legal issue, a criminal matter, feel free to give my office a call. We'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.